This is CBS Sports HQ, and it's the end of July, so you know what that means. It's time for the latest CBS Sports Best in College Sports rankings. Now, Georgia, who wasn't even in the top 10 last year, made their mark winning the national championship in college football. And of course, we had North Carolina making a run to the college basketball title game. Another team making a play for a spot in the top 10, but when it comes to being number one, it's all about consistency, as it turns out. And a school that has been consistently good across numerous sports is the University of Michigan. The Wolverines taking top spot for the second time in 3 years. They unseat Alabama, who were tops in 2021. Alabama falling down to 8th. Michigan just edging out Notre Dame, who were 26th a year ago. All right, let's break down the top programs with one of the contributors to this very list, a college sports analyst, Chip Patterson. Chip, Michigan are the first two-time number one in award history. What was it that put Michigan back on top?
Well, it starts with a big jump forward in football. This was the first Big Ten title that they've had in a while. That gets you points. The college football playoff appearance, that's going to get you points. And in our formula, where we consider football, men's basketball, women's basketball, and two wild card sports from the rest of your full athletic department success, football is going to be the most weighted here. So it's not all that surprising. But even to look at the rest of Michigan's profile, Juwan Howard got that Michigan team from the NCAA tournament bubble all the way into the Sweet 16. That's going to be another bonus. We also saw that wrestling finished as the national runner-up, and then men's gymnastics also got them points here as they finished third in the country. So it was, yes, the football success gave them a big boost forward, but then to be able to round that out with solid men's basketball and again finishing top 3 in the country in wrestling and men's gymnastics really gave the Wolverines the opportunity for this historic win in the award.
Yeah, a couple of those wild card spots certainly adding to it. Okay, Notre Dame go from 26th last year to 2nd this year. Take us through what gave the Irish such a huge jump and what kept them from number one.
So the big jump comes from men's basketball. This is a program that had not been in the NCAA tournament since 2017. They finished tied for second in the ACC standings. They make it into the NCAA tournament with that great St. Patrick's Day win and that great Mike Bray moment. And that really was able to give them a boost. Now, football's been very, very good in recent years. So that's always been able to give them a very high floor. But then you start to zoom out a little bit. The women's basketball is always going to be strong for the Fighting Irish. And then you're able to look at the rest of the athletic department where Notre Dame has always been able to field very competitive Olympic sport teams. And so to get the men's basketball boost, again, men's basketball is something that's going to be weighted more heavily than some of our wild cards. They've been getting zeros from men's basketball in recent years. Now all of a sudden they make it into the NCAA tournament. Strong season for the Fighting Irish, and that helps them go all the way to number 2.
And nice to see some men's soccer in there as part of that wild card ranking. Producer Brian Tully is extremely happy to see Ohio State at number 3. They jumped from 10th. What gave Ohio State the boost?
Women's hockey. That's right, the Buckeyes were national champions in women's hockey. It was the first time in program history that they were able to do that. And I think that that was really the big deal breaker because you get 100 points, the max available that we give to one of those wild card spots. That is going to already be able to give a strong boost to a football program that was in the New Year's Six with that great Rose Bowl win, a men's basketball program that's been making the NCAA tournament almost every single year under Chris Holtman. And so to me, when I look at Ohio State, a school that always is going to be very high, and yes, in the mix for number 1, to be able to get that national championship from one of those wild card spots, that's going to be able to boost you. So like, yeah, CJ Stroud, sure, yeah, EJ Liddell. But the reason that Ohio State has got this spot is because of women's hockey.
And one of the things that you point out in the article is that that gap between first and second is larger than the gap between second and fifth. So very tight in terms of runner-up spots on this list. We know what largely took North Carolina up to 4, that run to the national championship title game. But, Chip, also what else bumped them up?
An 8-goal comeback in an epic women's lacrosse national championship game against ACC rival Boston College. to be able to win that national championship, again, much like the Ohio State analysis, when you are able to go and get yourself 100 points from one of those wild card spots, it's really going to add to what you've got. And as we look at North Carolina's breakdown here, you got to think the most disappointing number is beside football. Again, a sport we weight very heavily. A Tar Heels team that came into last season with Sam Howell ranked in the top 10 going into the year. The fact that they finished 6-7, they don't win their bowl game against South Carolina, then be able to go on that great run in men's basketball all the way to the national championship game. This could have been even higher if that North Carolina football team had even half lived up to some of the expectations. But again, when your men's basketball team has that amazing run that the Tar Heels had in the NCAA tournament, and when your women's lacrosse team is able to claim a national championship to get you the maximum amount of wild card points, that's going to be able to give you a great finish in our rankings.
Wrestling, soccer, lacrosse, women's hockey. I love these wild card spots, Chip. I got to tell you. Lastly, let's talk about Georgia. They go up to 9th. That's up 10 spots from 19th a year ago. What was it that kind of stopped Georgia from making it into the top 5?
A goose egg, 0 points from men's basketball. You get the maximum from college football. You had a tremendous finish. You won the national championship. You, Georgia, are awarded 250 points in our formula for being able to reach the top of the mountain in football. But then when you look at men's basketball, only gets you 0. The Lady Bulldogs women's basketball team, yes, made it to the NCAA tournament, but about middle of the SEC kind of squad, only 50 points from there. And then you scan the rest of the Olympic sports, and while we were able to find success, nothing at the level of being able to claim national championships like we mentioned, with Ohio State or North Carolina. Nothing that's going to be able to really put the Bulldogs over the top. So their formula is going to show a program and an athletic department that is really relying on the football program right now to be able to hold it up in our rankings. But still, ask any Georgia fan if you would trade that national championship, the first one in decades, and beating Alabama to do it for a little more success in the rest of the sports. I'm pretty sure they'd all side with football.
Yeah, I'd be happy to be in the top 10. I'm happy to be in the top 10 with that. He is Chip Patterson, wearing his college sports analyst hat today with us here on HQ. Thanks very much, Chip, as we unveil the best college programs in the college sporting landscape. Chip, also the host of the Cover 3 podcast, and for all the latest on college football, be sure to check them out. Typically joined by Tom Fornelli, Danny Cannell, Bud Elliott pops on from time to time. The latest episode all about SEC and ACC Media Days last week. Download and follow the Cover 3 podcast wherever you get your podcast audio.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.